Excellent. Welcome to the grammar lecture. This one is on identifying sentence parts. Why is this important? This is incredibly important for your writing, especially, but also important for your reading, whether it be IELTS, PTE, TOEFL, or OET. And also just having the ability to identify sentence parts will make you, it will empower you to improve your own language learning, because you'll be able to look at a sentence and know exactly what the parts are. You've probably been taught this in high school, subject, verb, object. The way I'm going to teach it is going to be very different. I hope by the end of this, you will actually come out the other end and understand it clearly. Cool? Let's get started. A simple sentence in English has three parts: subject, verb, object. Everybody knows that, but what does that mean? Let's firstly identify some simple sentences, okay? Here's a task. I want you to count the sentences for me. I'll give you 30 seconds. How many sentences can you see here? Cool, right. Most people wrote 4, and that's good because that's the answer. There are 4 sentences there. Okay, here's the first one. A human typically gives birth after 9 months. An ostrich hatchling emerges from its egg after 42 days. But how long did it take for a baby dinosaur to incubate? That's a question, but that's also a sentence. Questions are also sentences. And then the fourth one was groundbreaking research establishes a timeline of anywhere from 3 to 6 months, depending on the dinosaur. There were 4. Fine. How did you know that? How did you know that there were 4 sentences there? You may have used this trick. You may have seen the capital letter and the full stop. Or you may have seen the capital letter and the question mark, because a capital letter and a full stop or a capital letter and a question mark indicate the start and the end of a sentence. Okay? I want you to count the sentences again. Tell me, how many sentences can you see now? That was a trick question, everybody. That was a trick question and you failed. Everybody failed. There are still 4 sentences, but this stupid person did not put a capital letter and a full stop after the sentences. Just because a paragraph or something has a capital letter and a full stop does not mean that it is a sentence. We need to understand more than just the capital letter and full stop to identify a sentence. Okay? I'm going to teach you how to identify sentences at a more complex level, because they are complex and there are parts to them. Okay, here it was, but in fact, it's still 4 sentences. It's just badly written. This is just a bad sentence. Okay, it's not a sentence. In fact, there are 4 parts to it. So now we're going to go a bit deeper. I'm going to tell you about subjects, verbs, and objects, because when you know what a subject, a verb, and an object is, you can then start to construct accurate sentences. And you will know when to put the full stop and when to put the capital letter, okay? Subjects first. What's a subject? The subject of a sentence is a who or a what. Again, the subject is a who or a what. For example, who? Dr. Gregory Erickson. That's the subject of the sentence. Or what? These prehistoric creatures. In other words, it can be a person or a thing, okay? Is the subject of a sentence. Here's a task. I want you to identify the subjects, write them into the chat. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Here we go. What are the subjects of these sentences? Please type them into the chat. Identify the subjects. Good, you've got the first one. Identify them. What are they? Good, Alvin, you've got 2 of them. Good, okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. People are seeing the subjects, the who or the what of the sentence. All right, fine, good, well done. Yes, good. A human, an ostrich hatchling, and groundbreaking new research. These are the subjects of these 3 sentences. Okay, fine, that's good. Were you 100% accurate? No. Some people just wrote a human, that's correct. Some people just wrote an ostrich, well, it's actually an ostrich hatchling. And some people wrote research. The subject is actually groundbreaking new research. This brings us to our first rule. The rule is this: a subject can be more than one word. Okay, the subject can be more than one word. Subject can be more than one word. For example, a human. That's, there's an article there, but it's really one word. But here, an ostrich hatchling. We've got 2 nouns, but this whole thing is the subject. And here, groundbreaking new research, we've got adjective, adjective, noun. That is, all of that is the subject. Here's another task. I want you to identify the subjects, and here's a hint. The subjects may be more than one word. See how you go. I'll give you a minute to do this one. What are the subjects? The subjects may have more than one word. Type it into the chat, please. Good, you've got the first one. The first one's easy. Good, Alvin. Good, Mary Hardy. Well done. Good, Naresh. Good, Janelle. Good. Kunlung's got the 3rd one. That's excellent. Good. Kunlung's got the 4th one as well. Excellent, Arthur. Good. Yes, 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 yes. Cool. All right. Let's have a look. I won't spend too long on that. There were 4 subjects there. The first one, let me disappear here. The first one was pretty easy. It was scientists, just one word. That's fine. The second one was a bit more complex. It was the unique marine life. That's the subject of the sentence. The third one was pretty easy. It was Dr. John Cooper. Fine. And the fourth one was a little bit interesting. It was a pronoun, he. So they were the 4 subjects. Now here, this brings us to another rule. Subjects can also be a pronoun. For example, a subject can be a pronoun like he, it, or they. That's a little rule to remember. Now, how do we find the subject? How can we be confident of knowing what the subject is in the sentence? Because some sentences are long and complex. Keep this in mind, that subjects come before the verb. Okay, a subject includes all of the information before the verb. So here's the verb, have discovered. So here's the subject because it comes before the verb. Here's the verb, was discovered. Here's the subject. All of this that comes before, everything that comes before the verb, the unique marine life. And here's the verb, here's the subject. Everything before the verb is the subject. Okay? Fine. We might think about subject, verb, object like this. Here's the subject, here's the verb, here's the object. This is a nice, simple sentence. Okay? Scientists have discovered 6 new animal species. We can see the subject, verb, and object. The unique marine life was discovered around hydrothermal vents. Subject, verb, object. Dr. John Cooper explored an area the size of a football stadium. Subject, verb, object. Let's now look at verbs because we now have a good understanding of what subjects are. Verbs also require some understanding. Verbs come between the subject and the object, okay? For example, here's the subject, scientist, here's the verb, and here's the object here. So the verbs slot in the middle between the subject and the object. Fine. Here's a rule. Keep this in mind. We said that subjects can be more than one word. Verbs can also be more than one word. Verbs aren't always single words. Verbs can have 2, 3, even 4 words, can be one verb. Okay, so verbs can be more than one word. I want you to identify the verbs now. Identify the verbs in these sentences. Let me disappear. Please type into the chat the verbs of each sentence. Good. Good, good, good. You got the first one's pretty easy. Excellent, excellent. Cool. All right. Getting there, getting there. Looked. Okay, I realize I've made a mistake here, but that's fine. Fluctuates. Cool. All right. Let me clean up some of my mess because I've made a bit of a mess here. Here we go. First sentence was feral cats cover over 99.8% of Australian, I can't read that, land area. Fine, the verb was cover. Research was undertaken by over 40 of Australia's top environmental scientists. Was undertaken. It's a verb, it's more than one word. There are 2 parts to that verb. The findings bring together evidence from nearly 100 separate studies across the country. Bring together, that's actually a verb and preposition together. It's called a phrasal verb. Okay, so we can see here that the verb has more than one word, 2 parts to that one verb. Australia's total feral cat population fluctuates between 2.1 million and 6.3 million. The study also looked at what causes variation in cat densities. Cat densities are higher on islands, especially smaller islands. Okay, I left one out. I'm sorry about that, but that's fine. That's a good experience to find the verb. We'll go to Q&A at the end if you have any questions. Now, I want you to identify the subjects. We've now found the verbs. Now let's look at the subjects. Again, look at this paragraph of text, type into the chat the different subjects that you can see. Good, excellent. Yes, the first, good, excellent. You guys have got the first one, that's good. And the second one? Good, well done, Zamira. You've got that difficult one. It had 4 parts, 5 parts to it, that subject. One of them has 5 words. One of the subjects has 5 words. Excellent. Good, excellent. All right, we're starting to get to the bottom of the list there. That's fine. Cool, let's look at them one by one. So, feral cats cover over 99.8% of Australia's land area. We know that the verb is cover, therefore the subject will be feral cats. Research was undertaken by over 40 of Australia's top environmental scientists. We know that the verb is was undertaken, therefore the subject must be research. The findings bring together evidence from nearly 100 separate studies across the country. We know that the verb is bring together, therefore the subject must be the findings. Australia's total feral cat population fluctuates between 2.1 and 6.3 million. We know the verb is fluctuates, therefore the subject must be Australia's total feral cat population. 5 words, 1 subject. The study also looked at what causes variation in cat densities. We know that the verb is looked at. Therefore, we know the subject must be the study also. There's also a little verb here, but we won't worry about that today. Cat densities are higher on islands, especially smaller islands. We know the verb is are, coming from the be verb is are, was, were, will be, etc. Therefore, we know the subject is cat densities. Cool. Good stuff. So we've learnt subjects, we've learnt verbs. Now we're on to objects, the third and final part of a simple sentence in English and how to identify them. Sweet. Right, objects. Objects come after the verb. Objects come after the verb. Here's the object here. Here's the verb. Objects come after the verb. It's all the information that comes after the verb. Was discovered around hydrothermal vents. Explored an area the size of a football stadium. So we've got the subject, the verb, and now we've got the rest of the information. Anything after the verb is the object. Of course, objects can be more than one word. Here we have 6 new animal species, 4 parts, 1 object. Around hydrothermal vents, 3 parts, 1 object. An area the size of a football stadium, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts, 1 object. Okay? Objects can be more than 1 word. Fine. Identify the objects now. Please type it into the chat. Good, 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 good. Excellent, good, well done. Good, some of these objects are quite long. Someone's asked about passive sentences. We'll get to that at the end. If you want to ask me that question, it's a good question. Good, all right. You guys have got it. Good, I'm seeing it happen, which is excellent. Here we go. Feral cats cover over 99.8% of Australia's land area. We know the verb, we know the subject, therefore this must be the object. Okay, over 99.8% of Australia's land area. Research was undertaken by over 40 of Australia's top environmental scientists. We know the verb, we know the subject, therefore this must be the object. The findings bring together evidence from nearly 100 separate studies across the country. We know the verb, we know the subject, we know the object. Australia's total feral cat population fluctuates between 2.1 million and 6.3 million. Verb, subject, object. The study also looked at what causes variation in cat densities, looked at the study also what causes variation in cat densities. Cat densities are higher on islands, especially smaller islands. Verb, subject, and quite a long object there. Rock and roll. Good stuff. Let's recap. I'm going to recap and then I'm going to give you a quiz at the end, okay? So, we learned that a simple sentence is subject, verb, object. Fine. And we learned that we can identify a simple sentence by looking at the capital letter and the full stop or the period, right? But that's not enough. That's not enough because if you're writing the sentence, how do you know when you should stop a sentence and start a new sentence? How do you know when to put the full stop in? Or how do you know when you're looking at a bad sentence that is in fact 2 sentences or 3 sentences, but it doesn't have the full stops or the capital letters? So we needed to We needed to understand what the sentence parts were in order to do this. It's a deeper understanding of what a sentence is than just the superficial understanding of a capital letter full stop. So we learned that the subject is a who or a what. So this guy can be Dr. Erickson, can be she. We also learned that the subject can be a pronoun, or it can be a what, like the fossil. We also learned that the subject can be more than one word, like the ancient dinosaur fossil. Okay, here we've got an article, we've got an adjective, and we've got two nouns. So the subject can be more than one word. Fine. And we learned that the subject comes before the verb. Okay? Then we learned that the verb comes between the subject and the object. Fine. And we learned that the verb can be more than one word, like was discovered or has been, I can't think of it, has been digging. There you go. Has been digging, 3 parts. And we learned that the object comes after the verb, fine. And we learned that the object can be more than one word. For example, in a cave in eastern Siberia. Right. Let me just appear and let me pause this recording. Right. Now what I want you to do, this paragraph you're looking at, the first thing I want you to do is identify how many simple sentences. Please look at it carefully, and it's a trick question. Identify how many sentences you can see. Somebody's taken a wild guess. Anu says 3. Look at it carefully. Locate the verb, locate the subject and the object. Okay, I've only written simple subject, verb, object sentences here. Okay, most people are saying 4. Some people are saying 5. Okay, Siku says 4 because there are 4 main verbs. That's good thinking. Cool. Right, let me get that out. Let me get that out. Let me move this. Okay, fine. Let's have a look using our knowledge of what a subject is and a verb is and an object is. Here's the answer here. Matters of the heart can influence actual heart health. There's your first sentence. Why? Because we have the verb here, can influence. And we've got matters of the heart as the subject. Actual heart health is the object. There's your first sentence. Your spouse can actually have significant bearing on your overall cardiovascular health. Your spouse, subject, can have, there's a little sneaky adverb here, but that's fine. It's part of the verb, really. Can have, there's the verb, significant bearing on your overall cardiovascular health. There's the object. So there's sentence 2. These results, subject, are published, verb, in Psychological Science, a journal of the Association for Psychological Science. Fine. That's a long subject. We've got these results, subject, are published, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 words for the object. So we found our third sentence. Now we've got Uchino and his colleagues, Timothy Smith and Cynthia Berg. That's the subject. Were interested is the verb. In exploring complexity in relationships. If you said there are 4 sentences here, you are correct. And hopefully you understood that by identifying those subject, verb, objects within those sentences. Okay? This is extremely helpful for PTE summarize written text, where you need to write a single sentence. This is also extremely helpful for any of the IELTS writing, whether it be general, academic, writing task 1 or writing task 2, because you should know what a sentence is, when to put the full stop, when and how to start the new sentence. Of course, what we've looked at here are just simple sentences. Sentences can be more complex in English, and I'll show you that in the coming weeks. We'll start to build complex sentences, not just to build them though, but to be confident when we write them, that we know they're correct. You need to have an understanding of language so that when you're writing that email or writing that essay, you're confident in what you're writing and you can look at it from a higher perspective and go, yes, that's correct. I know what's going on here linguistically. Cool. All right. Let me just go to Q&A. I'll stop recording.